All right, Corey.
Yeah.
Here's the question of the day. What are your thoughts on relic guitars or heavily aged guitars?
Oh, they smell bad.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for.
So I think it's an aesthetic that a lot of people are looking to. It's emulating something that's vintage, right? I mean, but I don't know. For me, it's a little bit of a toss up, right? If you want something that looks vintage, then maybe get something that's vintage. I don't know.
Sure.
But I personally would not order one that has all the distressing, but I think it looks super cool. So I would say I'm a coin flip on it.
I wasn't a big fan of it at first, but I've kind of learned to appreciate it. The pre-war guitars look awesome. I think obviously the Bill Monroe Mandolin we have, he did an awesome job recreating Monroe's, but this, I think it's got a coolness factor to it. I know it's not for everybody, but I can take it either way. Like, I like a brand new shiny instrument, but I also really enjoy having one of these as well.
Like I said, I think ultimately it depends on the guitar. I've seen it done where it's overdone, and it can be a little bit almost tacky. But I think when they relic it right to where it looks like the guitar has a story to tell, I think it's just another level to that build. And it's up to the player. Ultimately, it's about the guitar, how it fits, feels, sounds in your hands. And the finish in the end, whether it's relic, non-relic, whether it's a satin, gloss, whatever makes you want to pick up the instrument, in my opinion, is worth it.
That sounds really good. This looks like you threw it over to the fence to that dog in the sandlot, and just let him just gnaw on it for a while.
Why would somebody destroy a brand new guitar? Relic guitars have become a super hot button issue over the last, I don't know, probably 10 years. It's been done before that, but this has become a common thing for most guitar manufacturers. Some people just love their guitar to look old. There's companies that are just doing only relic guitars. And then there's also people who just hate it. Every time we do something that shows one, we hear from so many of you out there going, why ruin a great guitar? I prefer to see it my own wear and tear. Why do I want to see somebody else's wear and tear? I want to find out what it is that makes people want to have relic guitars, whether it's the sound, whether it's just a look, whether it's a feel. They're all important things, and we're going to find out if it's important to you, as well as maybe I'll find out if it's important to me. So let's start with the look. This is a hot buttons issue for me because I have played many vintage guitars, and there is something cool about seeing wear and tear on there. Now, I have definite ideas of what I think is the right amount of relic and how it's done. I've seen guitars that literally look like somebody grabbed it, threw it behind a truck with a chain and smacked it with a cinder block and, just done everything that's possible to it. And then I've seen some that just look like this guitar's been played a whole bunch. I don't know by who, but it's probably got a story to tell. Like a guitar like this feels like an old guitar. It looks like an old guitar. And I almost have this feeling like when I grab this, it's going to be able to tell me a story. This guitar, when I put it in my lap, there's a feeling, spiritual feeling. It inspires me to play different. It feels like an old guitar. Anyone who's played a vintage guitar knows there is just a feeling when it's in your hands that you're inspired to play differently. But then there's the second side of this. I want something that has that feeling, but I want it to play like a modern, well taken care of instrument that has a setup and feel of a brand new instrument that can do everything that I want it to do without all those little things. Because again, if it's a vintage instrument, there's a good chance that there's been some weird things that have happened through the years. Maybe it's got really high actions that can't be fixed. Maybe the intonation is off. Maybe, I don't know, there's a million different things that could have happened to a vintage guitar, especially if it's got a lot of wear and tear that is that's apparent in its visual. So there is an aspect of that. I get this feeling spiritually, but I also kind of get this feeling of a new guitar because it plays and performs to the best ability of a guitar that I would buy brand new. Here's the last one. The argument of whether or not they sound better. And there is some justification, at least in theory, of them sounding better. It's loosened up. It's a thinner finish. It gets to breathe better. There's so many little things that could have happened with a Relic guitar that don't happen to a brand, especially a museum level finish work that's done on some of your highest end boutique guitars. They have a thicker finish. They have something that is restricting the soundboard from moving and vibrating in its fullest form. So today what we're going to find out is whether or not that is a factor. Does it make a difference for sound between a Relic guitar and a non-Relic? And to do that, what we're going to use is two Atkin White Rices. Now, this model that I'm holding here is a heavily aged version versus their aged version, which has none of the wear and tear marks, but does have a little bit of their light relicing on it. We're going to use that in a blind test. And then after we're done with that, I want to hear what you guys think. And then I'm going to tell you guys what I think is the most important part when choosing whether to have a Relic guitar or a non-Relic guitar. So there we have two guitars played back to back. I'm real curious to see what you guys hear. I can tell you what I heard, and this actually kind of led me to a third factor that surprised me in playing both of these two guitars. There definitely was something to the feel that I want to discuss here in just a second. But my analysis of what I heard, there definitely was a difference, and I don't know if this was just two different guitars that we just happen to have that have enough unique characters. I mean, it wasn't dramatic. It didn't change the world. It wasn't like I didn't like one over the other. But I do have to say, weirdly enough, this particular version right here has a little bit of a drier, more vintage tone. But here's something that I found very unique. And this is something that you only feel when you play an old guitar. There were some little nicks and dings that happened in the back of this neck that, again, were like, it didn't feel pristine, and maybe you won't like it, but everyone, you guys know, one of my favorite guitars that I own is a 1940 D18. And there's these little nicks, and I know where those marks are, and I know where that puts my hand. I know where that moves me to different positions, even in another level. And that was a cool feeling to have, because you just kind of, things that are different. So, in the end, the most important thing, this is the most important thing. What does this guitar do for you? And this is what I've come to the conclusion with every guitar that I've bought over the past 10 years or so. Every one of them inspires me to do something different than what I have done before. And if that doesn't happen, you shouldn't be looking at that guitar. If it only makes you play the same thing that you're playing on everything else and doesn't make you play it with a different feel, a different, emotion, then that's kind of the whole deal. So that is where, to me, this relicing question comes down to what it does to you emotionally. There's something about having an old guitar in your hand. It feels like you're able to tell a story that is being told to you by that instrument. So that's a cool thing to have. Now, you may look at it and say, I hate that story. I need to move on to something else and create my own stories. The whole purpose of buying a new guitar is to inspire you to make better music and to tell your own story, make your own art. And if it doesn't do that, it's not the right guitar for you. I thought this was fun. I thought this was a cool conversation to have. If you like this, we did a really cool guitar. If you like this kind of guitar, large sound hole dreadnought of the Tony Rice / Clarence White style. We actually did this is one of our very first blind test style videos that I had a blast doing, which was the ultimate Tony Rice guitar shootout. We have a link to that in this video. It's probably going to be somewhere around the middle here, covering up this guitar. Anyway, click on that. You can see that video. It's got tons of cool stuff. And again, tell me what you guys think in the comments. Love to hear from you guys. And hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see you next time.